Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott from the Fire Note, and today in the Prog Corner, oh, baby, I'm excited for this one. Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, worst to first. I love Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. They are the pinnacle of prog precision. They are the pinnacle of prog pretentiousness. Their detractors called them a waste of talent and electricity. Yeah, whatever. They were absolutely amazing showmen, amazing musicians, whether it was Keith Emerson throwing a Hammond organ on him or jamming a knife between the keys of said organ, a knife handed to him by his roadie, a guy named Lemmy, who you might have heard of from Hawkwind or Motorhead, or his cod pieces that he'd wear, or Greg Lake with his harp guitar and his Persian rug that he had to be standing on, and Carl Palmer with his not one gong, but he's got two gongs. This band was ridiculous. This band was over the top. This band was absolutely incredible. We are going to go through their discography, but first, just a little history lesson about how they came to be. 1969, Greg Lake is in King Crimson. He's not happy. Keith Emerson is in The Nice. They're about ready to break up. The two have a chance meeting. They are sharing a bill at San Francisco's Fillmore West, where they sat down and plans were made to start a band. So when The Nice broke up, Greg quit King Crimson. The search was on for a new drummer. And this is where we get a little bit of apocryphal fantasy, little storytelling time. People always like to say that Jimi Hendrix was going to become a member of the band. This got conflated because Mitch Mitchell, his drummer, was actually one of the guys they were thinking about as the third member of the band. They settled on Atomic Rooster and the Crazy World of Arthur Brown drummer Carl Palmer. A perfect choice, if I do say so myself. Before they even get signed, they played their first gig, a little warm-up gig in Plymouth Guildhall. Their second gig was in front of 600,000 people at the Isle of Wight Festival with the Doors and Jimi Hendrix and Jethro Tull. They put their first album out in 1970, and from there, the Imperial phase began. They ended with a whimper, but they still had some decent material even outside the 70s. So we're going to run through all of them, except we are not going to cover the 1974 live album. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. The great triple album. I love it. And they had a second solo album in the 70s, or live album in the 70s. 1979's In Concert. This was supposed to be a double album, but the band was breaking up, so Atlantic said, no, you're just going to get a single disc. It's all right. But let's go through the albums from worst to first. And we're starting with number 12. And yes, it is their worst album. It is their last album. It is In the Hot Seat. This album should have never been made. 1994, Greg's voice was gone. Keith had a problem with his right hand. He actually had to do both parts with his left hand using overdubs. And Carl Palmer was suffering with carpal tunnel. The songs are not good. It's uninspired. It sounds like it's straight out of the 80s. There is, however, a ray of light. There's one really good song on here. The Hand of Truth opens side 1, and it's actually really good. Number 12. At number 11. Yes, I'm including 3. The Power of 3. This album was Keith Emerson, Carl Palmer, and Robert Berry replacing Greg Lake. Emerson and Lake had a falling out at the end of the Emerson, Lake, and Powell tour, which we'll talk about in a minute. So they brought in Robert Berry, the hard luck guy who had worked with Steve Howe in GTR after Steve Hackett had left. Howe wanted to keep it going. He enlisted Robert Berry, recorded some new material. The second album never materialized. He ends up with Keith Emerson for 3. They only put 1 record out. This poor guy just can't get a break. This album's not bad. It starts with a really good track called Talking About. It ends with a really strong track, On My Way Home. And the last song on side 1 is a 3-part suite called Desde la Vida, which is actually really good. Underrated album, not bad. At number 10, the first reunion album. And Black Moon is better than In the Hot Seat, and primarily because of side one. Side one is actually not bad at all. Paper Moon or Paper Blood and Affairs of the Heart were both songs Greg Lake had written with Jeff Downes for an aborted project called Ride the Tiger. It's got Prokofiev's Romeo and Juliet suite, a little adaptation there. Side one ends with Farewell to Arms, a song they played even at their farewell concert in 2010. Strength of side one alone gives this the nod over those others. At number 9, the dreaded Love Beach from 1978. Just look at our boys in all their Bee Gees glory, hanging out on the beach in the Bahamas. This album is not great at all. It was a contractual obligation album. The boys had decamped to Nassau at Compass Point Studios. Apparently, Greg Lake and Keith Emerson had smuggled in copious amounts of cocaine in Keith's grand piano. Keith was so high when they were working on this. Reports are that he tried to swim from Nassau back to England. Somebody stopped him, luckily. This album is saved by side 2. Memoirs of an Officer and a Gentleman is actually a pretty good suite. Canario, which is an adaptation of a Rodrigo classical piece. Not bad. It's okay. Okay, at number 8, the aforementioned Emerson, Lake and Powell. This baby came out in the 80s. They were trying to reform the band, but Carl Palmer was busy with Asia, so they enlist the great Cozy Powell. They claim it's just a coincidence that his name ends with the P. Emerson joked that they asked Phil Collins and Gene Krupa and Ringo Parr to join the band, but they settled on the great Cozy Powell, who to me gets a lifetime pass, having drummed on the great Rainbow Rising album. This album's actually not bad. The 80s production almost sinks it, but side one's got a couple lengthier songs. The Score and The Miracle are both good. Side 2 opens with the hit single Touch and Go, which is actually a really nice song. Side 2 ends with the Holtz adaptation of Mars, the Bringer of War from the Planets. The CD version had a bonus track, The Locomotion, which sounds like it would just be terrible. It's actually really good. Okay, at number 7. Works Volume 2. Yeah, this is a promo copy. When this record came out, I was very disappointed. I had just seen them on the Works tour in 77, and I was really hoping that this would be more like side 2, or side 4 of Works Volume 1, rather. This is just odds and ends, songs that weren't good enough to land on other albums. There are some decent tracks on here, not least of which is I Believe in Father Christmas, which is probably my favorite Christmas song of all time. At number 6, its predecessor, Works Volume 1. This is the product of so much hubris, it's unbelievable. Side 1 is all Keith Emerson. Side 2 is Greg's side, where he's doing his acoustic guitar balladry. Side 3 is Carl Palmer doing more percussive types of things. Very interesting, actually, not bad. But it's side 4. Side 4 is where you come to hear Fanfare for the Common Man and Pirates, both of which are incredible tracks. Side 4 saves this. Really, really strong. At number 5, yes, I am including a live album, but only because it is canonical. These songs had been with Emerson, Lake and Palmer from their very first concert. This was like the first thing they ever worked on. They wanted to release this right away after their first album. The label said no. It's a little confusing, this classical adaptation, while Greg Lake's Lucky Man is a hit. So they offered to put it on a classical label. They balked. They said no. Finally, the label decided to put it out as a budget priced in the U.S., and that really helped explode this band in the U.S., because this was the first ELP album I ever bought, because it was like $3 or $4. And boy, was I happy about it, though. Oh, at number 4, the debut album from 1970. Some people's favorite ELP album. It is their highest rated album on Prog Archives. I dispute that finding. I find it a little material light. I do enjoy the Barbarian. I love Bartok, so I really like that. Take a Pebble is interesting, goes on a little too long. Knife Edge to me is the keeper on here. I absolutely love that song. Lucky Man is a good track. But now the top 3. Now, I don't want to hear anybody say anything negative about any of these 3 albums, because if they do, they're dead wrong. Number 3 is Tarkus. Celebrated its 50th anniversary last year. Prog magazine did a cover story on it, and talking about how Greg hated it, and the band almost dissolved because he just did not want to do that kind of music. Thankfully, he was talked off the ledge, and they were able to complete it in 10 days. Side 1 is the Tarkus Suite, which is amongst the greatest things ever recorded. People slag on Side 2. They are dead wrong. Side 2 is phenomenal. The Only Way, Bitches Crystal, Jeremy Bender. Come on, man. Give me a break. You don't like that stuff? What? At number 2, from 1972, Trilogy. This is their best sounding album. Yeah, Greg Lake is still producing, and Eddie Offord is engineering, but something about the sound they got on this album at Advision Studios, it's just the best sounding prog album I probably ever heard. It's not my favorite ELP album. There is one I like better, but this album is just incredible. Endless Enigma, the title track, Hoedown, The Sheriff, Abaddon's Bolero. Oh, give me a break. Trilogy, so good. But there can only be one number 1, ladies and gentlemen. Or should I say lady and gentlemen? I have one female subscriber. It's Brain Salad Surgery. From 1973. Look at this album cover. H.R. Geiger knocked it out of the park. He even designed their logo for them, which is super cool. You know, it's got the cool die cuts. It's a robot skull. Is it a chick with dreads? I don't know what's going on. All I know is I love this album. It's dark. Eddie Offord's not engineering this. He was busy with Yes doing Tales from Topographic Oceans. So it's Greg Lake in a really dark frame of mind. This dystopian future of Carnival 9. It's just majestic. It's imperial. It's over the top. It's everything you want Emerson, Lake and Palmer to be. It's ridiculous. I love it. I love them. I saw them in 1977 in Milwaukee. One of the greatest concerts I've ever seen. They had the 60-piece orchestra. They had the 30-piece choir. They opened with Piano Concerto No. 1 from Works. And people were like, what? They didn't play Tarkus. They didn't play Carnival 9. It was a weird show, but I loved every second of it. And I love Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I hope you do too. If you don't, you need to check them out. Every one of their records has something valuable and worthwhile on it. Yeah, even in the hot seat. All of them are worthwhile. All of them are decent. That is my ranking for Emerson, Lake and Palmer's 12 studio albums from worst to first. I am Scott from the Fire Note, and if you could take a second, hit that subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it, but I will see you soon. And please let me know what you think in the comments. Anyway, have a great day. See you on the flip side.